Hello there beautiful human, my name is RidersDX and welcome to another rendition of Late Night Riders. Today's episode kind of comes from the fact that I was watching Sponge on the Run last night, and when I was watching the movie... You better leave now where you're lost, dog. The zombie king, yeah, I hear him. What the f is this shit? The movie just felt like the result of what you get if you took the very first movie, but then purged it through a shredder. It's just a complete mess, like random stuff that doesn't make sense. If you folks want me to do a more in-depth review of Sponge on the Run, then let me know in the comment section below and then I might get right on that. But to summarize it, what the movie really lacked for me was the soul of SpongeBob. The movie didn't have that one factor that made me discover the meaning of life, find love in a hopeless place, kiss the ground I walk on. What? When a pandemic? But you know what movie did have that? The godly, infamous, water cooler chatter inducing original SpongeBob movie. This movie is America's greatest treasure that must be protected at all costs. And I am here to directly show you folks just exactly what the soul of the movie is and why it is so special. So sit back, relax, and grab your non-fattening popcorn as we relish in this masterpiece. Huh. I see. Well folks, it looks like if I show you any footage of the movie, YouTube will terminate my show. So we're gonna talk about the video game. With the development of the SpongeBob movie would also come a tie-in video game during an age where practically every major motion picture got one. It was developed by Heavy Iron Studios and was released just under a year after the first SpongeBob project had come out, Battle for Bikini Bottom. This being released so soon afterwards, Heavy Iron opted to reuse all graphical assets from BFBB along with the main platforming engine with a few tweaks here and there. SpongeBob and Patrick are back, having retained all their moves from the previous title. Patrick is also taken up on swinging his tongue from ice cubes since Sandy is unfortunately nowhere to be seen. The game also adds in some new ideas such as single levels dedicated to the sliding mechanic and also brand new Paddy Wagon driving levels. The game itself is more linear than BFBB, opting for a direct level-to-level progression, and all this is tied together through a retelling of the movie's plot using still images that last seconds between each level. I forgot that this game only loosely told the story of the movie. How am I supposed to show the soul of the movie now? Never fear, good citizen, for I will find that soulful energy you seek. Excuse me, but... What? I am Heroic Riders, soul protective of your fragile thoughts and opinions. They are not fragile. I am stern and confident in my opinions and thoughts. No need to worry, my good man. I will journey to the outside world and find the soul of SpongeBob SquarePants and ultimately save this video. To the kitchen! This is a dangerous mission. I'll need all the help I can get. Well, this should be good. Picking up this game again, there are many aspects that hold up really well. I love platforming in this game just as much as I did in BFBB. Although the levels are more linear, this is not inherently a bad thing, and the game does promote exploration through hidden collectibles. What I really love about these levels is the increased challenge there is compared to BFBB. Some of these levels were very difficult for me to overcome as a kid, which I don't remember doing nearly as much with BFBB. When you first play Planktopolis, you'll be cussing your sleep wondering why you ever wasted your time on a SpongeBob game, but going through it now feels so good just because I have been able to overcome the challenges, since though they are difficult, they are fair and can be mastered with time. The game overall took what worked with BFBB and just made it harder. I also enjoyed how this game recreated all the environments and sounds of the movie. They had the same dull color scheme as BFBB and weren't the most impressive graphics around the time, but the game has that classic 2000s feel to it that I'll always cherish. I also got a real hoot seeing SpongeBob in Aftershave being drunk at Goofy Goobers. My man. All the unlockable costumes and other extras is certainly a nice touch as well and adds some more incentive for you to keep exploring the game. They even got Clancy Brown this time. Sure, it was just for a single cutscene line and some in-menu dialogue, but I'll take it.
Meanwhile...
Okay, soldier, here's how we're going to find the soul of SpongeBob. So in the ecosystem of Bikini Bottom, there's this positive surge of energy that keeps the entire town balanced and at peace. And not only that, but this energy has captivated millions of individuals outside of Bikini Bottom as well. And do you know where that energy source comes from? The Krabby Patty! That's right, my intelligent friend, the Krabby Patty. We are going to create ourselves a Krabby Patty, and within the internal makings of that patty will reveal to us the secret to its success, and thus usher in a whole eternal era of world peace. The movie game does a lot of things really well and is thus a solid licensed title. However, there are also aspects of the game that make it inferior to BFBB in my eyes. A lot of what brings this game down can actually be directed towards one mechanic in the game, the Goofy Goober tokens. These tokens are the equivalent to golden spatulas from BFBB, which were the equivalent to stars in the Mario games or Jiggies in Banjo-Kazooie. The main issue with the tokens in this game is how they're used as a firewall towards progression in the main campaign. Often you will be stopped from going any further in the game because you haven't collected enough tokens to be granted a new ability needed to progress through the game. This causes you to go back to a previous level to collect more tokens before you can move on. This is not inherently a bad thing, as every platformer that uses the same system also halts your progress somewhat based off of how much of a certain item you have collected. However, where the movie game truly fails is in the nature of how you collect half or even the majority of these tokens. It's now time to talk about the other gameplay styles, sliding and driving. Let's start with sliding, as this actually was one of my favorite things about BFBB. It was always such an exciting deviation while playing the game because it was fast-paced, short, and exhilarating. There was just something about the feel of the controls, the guitar riff ripped straight from the beach, and Spongebob's humongous tongue that felt right. So when I started these levels in movie games as a kid, I was of course really excited to see that entire levels are now dedicated to this mechanic. Although they weren't exactly the same as a result, the controls were nerfed and now the max speed to go is much slower than before. I suspect they did this because BFBB's sliding, while fun, could also be quite challenging due to how fast you could go and how tight the tracks would get. So this isn't a bad idea. However, it definitely lost a bit of that exhilarating factor to me and just wasn't as exciting to play through. Not to mention, because there were now separate levels, they were extended much more in length as a result and tended to drag at times. The slide down the dark treacherous trench is the biggest example of this. It's a fun slide with tons of paths, but man, it can take ages. Along with sliding, we have a brand new gameplay style, the Paddy Wagon. From a marketing standpoint, this was a great idea to incorporate into the game. I'm sure I wasn't the only kid that found the Paddy Wagon absolutely badass in the movie and couldn't wait to drive it in the game. And it controls in a solid manner as well. It's not the next F-Zero or Mario Kart, but it's functional and gets the job done. I will say on the contrary though, there's nothing special about these segments, and every time I go to them, I was just eager to get past them and back into the platforming Heavy Iron was just exceptional at. But now it's time to discuss the biggest issue of this game, which is connected to both the Goofy Goober tokens and these kinds of levels. Due to the paywall set up through the tokens, much of your time in grinding for tokens will be through completing extra missions within these types of levels. The majority of them are time trials, so they essentially aren't any different from just replaying the mission. There are also ring challenges, which are probably my least favorite aspect of this game. Basically, the goal of them is to travel through every single ring on the track. If you miss just one though, you're forced to restart at the beginning. This is a pain in the longer levels, especially as it just adds on more times you need to travel through the same tracks. These ring challenges also go beyond these levels in the form of sonic wave guitar challenges in the regular platforming levels, which I am going to slowly walk away from because they make me want to explode. It'd be one thing if these missions were necessary to 100% the game, but the Goofy Goober token thresholds are so high that you absolutely have to play these. I'm seriously convinced Mindy either has some sort of gambling problem or a legit Goofy Goober token fetish, because the amount of times I can't move on due to needing some of that mermaid magic is insane. She halts you whenever it's time for you to learn a new move, and even at the second to the last level, when even though you learned everything, she won't let you pass because you need that Paddy Wagon. You might argue with me that BFBB has a similar system with spatula requirements before each level, and while this is true, the journey to getting those spatulas was much more fun in BFBB than this one. In BFBB, not only were the thresholds fair, but there was also little to no repetition of levels to collect all these spatulas. Every single spatula had a unique spot within the game, with a unique path in getting to it. But with the movie game, it has the same threshold system, but forces you to replay the levels constantly to grind for the tokens. This is why the system is not inherently bad, had, but can totally backfire if the journey towards reaching those thresholds is flawed. This is not game breaking, but the padding is unnecessary and truly takes a lot of joy out of this game. The deed is done! I, heroic riders, have conjured up the ultimate product of happiness and joy, the Krabby Patty! Dude, this is a chicken patty from McDonald's! A mighty hero like myself has no time to indulge in silly everyday activities like cooking and what? But I ordered a Krabby Patty specifically! That cashier is going to pay. No, we are not plotting vengeance against McDonald's for not having Krabby Patties. Krabby Patties are only found at the Krusty Krab, the finest eating establishment under the sea, which we have no means of getting to, so just let it go, okay? So, this means I failed my first mission as a superhero. Well, yeah. But okay, so oh, the agony! Such a short-lived career that I had. So many things I'll never get the chance to do. I'll never get to feed a hungry family in the woods with a lifetime supply of food. I'll never get to end the war between two great kingdoms. And most of all, I'll never get pizza delivered by Peter Parker. Though the movie game tried some new ideas I wasn't fond of, the game also maintained a lot of what made BFBB great and added some stuff I actually did enjoy. I loved the floating block and Spongeball challenges, for instance. I felt these were handled much better than the driving and sliding levels, as they used an approach more similar to the first game, confining them to single tokens used within the bigger levels as breaks from the platforming. Patrick's levels are very reminiscent of classic Mario levels in Sunshine, and the Spongeball is literally 10 times better here than in BFBB. I'd also argue that it's impressive that Heavy Iron made this in the short time they had. BFBB came out on October 31st, 2003, while the movie game came out on October 27, 2004. The fact that Heavy Iron was still able to churn out such a solid title in that time is impressive in itself. Sure, the game reuses a lot of what made BFBB great, but I'd argue that was efficient and probably created a much better product than what would have been released had they been more ambitious. I have very fond memories of this game. Even though I look back on a lot of its design choices negatively, I had just about as much fun with this game as I did with BFBB. I guess that's what childhood nostalgia can do for you sometimes. I played some of the most terrible games when I was a kid, but I still find myself going back to them just because they bring back great memories. But the movie game is far from terrible. It's a fun game that's just plagued by some unfortunate design choices, but there's plenty to enjoy about the movie game, which more than overpower the negatives that I've discussed. To me, both the movie and the video game have that soul of Spongebob that I talked about, at least a fraction of it. The movie itself will always be one of my all-time favorites because of its powerful message of staying true to who you are and not compromising that for anything in life. The video game simply lets you take control of the journey that leads towards that message, with solid platforming that feels both natural and unlimiting. Though Spongebob and Patrick are kids, they accomplish a truckload of challenges in this game, from defeating an army of thugs in a bar, traversing treacherous trenches and garbage dumps, and even navigating one of the most difficult obstacle courses ever in licensed gaming history, Planktopolis. This game was able to perfectly simulate that experience the movie so effortlessly told, and that is a huge accomplishment for Heavy Iron. Perhaps Spongebob will never be able to capture that magic that the Golden Age did. Maybe Spongebob will further derail into corporate nightmare as we see TikTok celebrities and brands invade future episodes and movies. But nothing will take away from what Spongebob had become before all this. And who knows, maybe new Spongebob will create a whole new generation of fans that I will never understand. Quality is so subjective, something that doesn't appeal to me may very well appeal to the next person in line. I can admit that the soul of Spongebob is a little different for every fan, so I think I'll just be happy to know that Spongebob is still alive and well, even as he further expands from what he once was. Memories are so powerful, and I fully accept that mine will prevent me from truly enjoying what SpongeBob may bring in the future. But I can sit on the sidelines and just admire how far SpongeBob's reach has gotten and smile as I see fragments of that soul still be represented. But that is it for my thoughts on the SpongeBob movie game and I guess SpongeBob as a whole. Yeah, this was a deeper video than I was anticipating. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you all think about the movie game? Did you all love it? Did you all hate it? Let me know your favorite parts of it and also your least favorite parts of it. I'd be really curious to hear your thoughts. Sponge on the Run may not be for me, and future games might not have that same magic that I got from these games. However, I always keep an open mind for them and always look for the positives and brand new things that come out from here on out. Because it's SpongeBob. It's good to an extent.
12 o'clock midnight.
I bathed the audience with the sounds of my heavenly clarity.
Kill it with fire. Thank you so much for watching this video. Special shout out to The Nerd Corner, Killer Lemurs, Team Ride with Sign Gamers, Johnny Hinton Ortiz, Trash Q, Abraham Muter, and Mass Muter. These are my patrons / YouTube members. If you'd like to become a patron or YouTube member and get access to a whole bunch of different perks, then please check out the links in the description box below. But alright, this is Riders, riding out.